And we're live.
Welcome to another episode of Verbal Laxative. I'm Jason. This is where someone else says their name.
Phil.
Brian.
And Zinzin.
All right,
We
good
used to
start
do
as
cold
always.
starts, eh?
Well, we're just gonna have one guy introduce everyone, I thought.
Oh,
Oh,
are
right,
we gonna
right,
do
right,
that?
right.
I thought
Yeah,
the
we
point for us
established that last
each
time.
saying our names was like so people can, link the voice to the actual name.
Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's awkward as fuck. Just get one guy to introduce all of us. This always happens. We're in like near episode 50. And this is like, it always happens without fail.
That's our thing. That's one of our signature things. It's what our listeners have grown to love. This is why we still have, single-digit listeners.
Maybe
We're
that's
keeping
why.
them.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the reason why we don't have a growing following.
Watch, that's literally it.
That one thing.
We get one guy to introduce everybody, the next day hundreds. Exponential growth.
I would be quite impressed.
Tens. I mean, tens is...
Tens is
Good
already
enough.
a big jump.
10's already exponential growth. Let's not kid ourselves. Exponential growth for sure. All right.
Yeah.
Welcome everybody. Newest episode, Verbal Laxative. We got the four of us. Hassan is off today. He is I don't know. My mind is
Were you
breaking.
trying to think of something stupid?
I was, and then I just blanked, and I didn't want to just put in that processing power. I'm getting old. I can't think of
The
these things.
stalkers of Hassan, they're gonna be so sad. They're like, oh, can't get updates on them.
Well, they would actually be much more happier because every time I've said what he's doing, it's thrown his actual stalkers way off.
What if that's the reason they started stalking him? To see like if they could actually see him do that kind of stuff in action.
Well, then I stopped the stalkers from stalking him now. So even either way,
You're
I
just
did
playing
him a
both
favor.
sides for like just whatever mood you're in.
It makes it easier. It's so easy to play both sides on this.
Mm.
Well, whatever Hassan's doing, I wish him the best.
He's probably just at home. He's just at home chilling.
He's just watching TV. He's like, kind of bored.
That's kind of the state of affairs these days, right? With everything locked down and, I mean, second, third lockdowns,
Yeah,
depending on
yeah.
where you are. And, like, what
Yeah.
can people do anymore?
We're at our current iteration of lockdown. What about you over there in Colorado? Are you guys also locked down now?
Not... I don't know, because lockdown is so ambiguous, I feel. Like, everyone's like, oh, yeah, they're in their own sort of lockdown, but everyone's lockdown seems to be different.
No, I mean, like, did your state governor come out and said, like, oh, I'm locking everything down?
He said that once a couple months ago, but not since then because everything is still kind of open. Most things are open. A lot of businesses are a few businesses, I should say, are kind of protesting the lockdown.
Oh yeah,
But like, I mean, I drove by McDonald's. You can go into McDonald's.
oh yeah. You can go into a bunch of our places too. It's just our premier, the provincial premier, came out a couple days ago and just said that we're kind of going into the second lockdown. So it's like the public emergency.
Yeah, I don't think people actually take it seriously because I don't see any differences. Like when
Yeah.
I go get groceries and stuff and I drive by tons of places, there's like so many people there. Tons of cars in the parking lot. So I don't know the limitation of this lockdown.
You can it's the main target is gatherings at home. So it's just nobody's allowed to gather at people's houses for now. You can still go and do stuff. You can go get your hair cut and whatever.
Appointments only.
Yeah,
You can't
appointments
walk.
only. And what, like, bars and shit are open till like 10 p.m. only?
Yeah, the reduced
Yeah, but
hours. So with malls,
People are still
malls have
allowed to
reduced
go
hours.
eat in restaurants too.
Yeah, that's the fucked up. Yeah. You can, like, you can't go to your family, your mom's house to eat, but you and your mom can go to the restaurant and eat.
Well, a household can, technically speaking.
You're not supposed to go anywhere outside of the people you live with or sleep with.
So it sounds like they're saying that you should be safe unless you're going to contribute to the economy. Then we don't care about
Yeah. Well, his whole thing, like, our premier is Kenny, right? And then his whole deal was, everybody knows he's royally fucked up, but like he's trying to be like, oh, I'm still standing up for everyone's liberties, but basically he's forced to lock down now before we all turn into like fucking like like fucking 28 days later or some shit. So that's why he has to
But
do it.
what is forcing the lockdown? Because like I haven't met anyone personally that's received any kind of punishment.
Well, yeah, no, you would face punishment. Like they gave power to like peace officers that if they see like a gathering at a house, they can fine people up to like $1,000.
Oh, okay, but would they?
Yeah, they would.
From what I heard, there was some fines given out to people protesting the other day. So I don't know if you saw that.
I mean,
like-
obviously, I think they should.
Yeah, obviously.
But
But there was like tons of people protesting. There was pictures and videos of it down Stephen Ave.
yeah,
And yeah, people just protesting the masks and stuff.
yeah, anti-mask protests.
It boggles me because your city is like relatively small in terms of population density, but the sheer amount of people that have free time to go out and like, bring up this issue that really doesn't matter to them that much. It's just it boggles my mind.
It's
Oh,
pretty.
people are stupid.
It's also pretty bad because like it's very you can't talk this away because our province is not even that populous, and then it's already like the worst province in the entire country. Like
We've had numbers past Ontario.
yeah, Ontario is probably like 3 times as more populous than we are, more dense by far, and they have less cases than our province does. So it's obviously like they fucked up. Like there's no way Kenny can explain.
But
Explain out of it.
didn't they have a longer lockdown than we did?
Well,
They started a lockdown before we did.
either way, it means that we fucked up. Like you can't. You can chip away at all these little things. It's at the end, province to province, you fucked up. It's not even apples to oranges. They're both in the provinces in the same country.
Yeah. So you're saying that because our government allowed the numbers to creep that high.
Yeah, no, like their ideological bent prevented them from like our premier and his whole like their whole governing philosophy. I would say directly played a big part in why we're so bad, why we're faring so bad. It was like a mix of austerity and also fucking free pro business, free gathering, not wanting to use the power that's given to them to act in a case like this. So it was basically like Phil said, the economy over people's lives, and then they do like a little gymnastical bend to try to justify this. Like the economy is more important. Cure can't be worse than the problem. Dog shit takes, and then at the end, like the premier in Ontario is also a conservative guy, right? Doug Ford, and yeah, he took it. At least his government took it much more seriously. So yeah, now they're doing better than we are, with much more people and shit over there, and much more bigger crossings, I guess. If Americans are still coming in, it's much more prominent over there, and like the worst. We're the worst in the country. So
I don't think Americans are allowed to come into Canada right now.
Well, I guess not, but then there's stuff saying like you can't drive over, but you can still take a plane over into the country. So
Interesting.
yeah, so yeah, no matter how you slice it, the dude is our guy just fucked up. He fucked up pretty hard, and like you could tell he didn't kind of even want to do this. He's forced to do it, and then there was like some scandals as well because I guess the news kind of leaked some internal stuff between. There was like
What, the news didn't do anything. Someone else gave it.
okay, there was a leak to the news of our chief medical officer maybe and the premier not on the same page. So then there was like internal stuff where it's like she's recommending stuff, but he's not taking it, and then she just has to fucking swallow it and just go by whatever the hell.
I
he's
feel
saying.
like people knew that was the case. They just wanted them to say it or admit it.
You know what? You know what I take? You assume that people know this stuff and they can process this properly. From what I've seen from people just growing up in my whatever, like my time on Earth already, people are never assume people are smart. They're always dumb. So, like,
Absolutely.
just
That's what I always say.
just
It's
fucking
safer to assume
hogs.
they're dumb.
Yeah, all of us. They're all just fucking hogs, just eating the slop, right? Like, yeah, this is for a lot of people. They're like, oh, I didn't know that, right? So obviously, you're right. She has to toe the line from the premier. If the premier says no, I don't want to lock anything down. I don't want to do anything. Yeah, she's stuck with just fucking.
She's actually a very good lieutenant, though, or a soldier. She never crossed the line.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
She's a very good puppet.
yeah, like that's what you want in an employee, right? In an underling. But yeah, but there's a lot of up in arms people because they're saying, "Oh, you're supposed to listen to her independent medical assessment and whatever," right? But obviously, we can all tell that anybody with kind of a little bit of common sense, you can kind of say, "Well, no, like that's never clear cut."
I
like
just
that.
feel like it's like the mom and dad talk where they're trying to force the mom to say things just so that they can criminalize the dad kind of thing. And
It's probably even worse because you know what? If I don't even see it as mom and dad talk, they're not equal. It's more like father and kid talk, father and daughter talk. But you as a family, the daughter can just say the worst things about their father, have no regard for anything. This is worse. This is boss and underling relationship.
yeah, I guess it's like
the
they're
daughter.
trying to get her to snitch.
Yeah, the daughter can in that analogy, the daughter can always talk shit about her father if she's like one of those edgy teenagers, right? But like underling and boss, yeah, you can't do much if she wants to keep her job. That's
I mean, I feel this is like misleading. I don't believe you guys would talk back to your parents in any single way.
no, I
Depends what they're
I mean,
doing or saying.
like your parents don't have like if you're adults now, assuming even when you're a daughter, like your parents don't have the ability to fire you, right? Like at the worst is what? Like they still gotta take care of you. If you're less than an adult, right? If you're not an adult, they still gotta take care of you. And if you're an adult, like what are they gonna do? Right? Not give you allowance anymore? Like right? Fuck off. But your job, yeah, they fire you. Well, oh shit, what am I gonna eat now? Right? I'm gonna pay rent. Different relationship. It's definitely a more like you got a lot more to lose.
It shouldn't be, right? That seems kind of.
Well, it shouldn't be. And then that's
Yeah.
it's like one of those questions when you start to radicalize people towards communism. It's like, well, it is like that, but it shouldn't be.
Yeah, people should be equals. But
Yeah.
where are we now?
Well, I don't
Slowly,
know.
I'm working you, Phil.
I always thought that the whole approach to COVID was not going to work just because of how free North American people are, right? Like, there's always going to be that 5% of people who's just not going to want to do the right thing for everyone else, mandate or not.
I think it's way more than 5, man.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing.
Well,
If it was 5, it
we
wouldn't
would
that
be-
big of a problem.
so
We would be so happy it was just 5% of people just fucking it up. No, man.
I think you guys have it's just so, man, skewed. I have to say, 5% in your city would be like what, 50? No, 5,000? 50,000 people.
About like
It feels like
50,000, yeah.
Yeah, you guys. It feels like you have that many people showing up to a protest, and that's like California numbers that would protest,
Man,
and
like,
they would deal with 100 million.
like, yeah, you're assuming that everybody, they mobilized everyone that hated, like, fucking mass, like, there's probably a fucking silent, at least majority, minority there, too, that,
Oh
like,
yeah, it's got to be way bigger numbers than the actual people that showed up.
yeah, it's insane. Like, it's in the fucking numbers, too, right? And, like, if you're comparing, like, this virus spreads more or less the same across all human populations, give or take, right? But then you can see, like, the ones that where governance skews a certain way and the population also doesn't care a certain way, like, it explodes. It's massive more. undoubtedly much more like infections in those kind of areas than ones that aren't like that, right? So
Yeah, but Canada used to care. Like at the beginning of this pandemic in like March, I think everyone would say, okay, Canada is one of those countries that like cares about this pandemic. People, the citizen are educated about it and they're doing the responsible things. They're keeping the numbers down. And then literally like 2 months later, like they skyrocket. Like what happened?
yeah, never assume that people are smart anywhere. You assume that people are going to be dumb in most
Yeah.
places. Like most of these places, like when Italy started, remember what came out of them first was in the northern region of Lombardy. I think even the mayor was kind of like downplaying and be like, like this is just some weird Chinese virus. It's nothing to be afraid of. And then as like a stunt, he went out to go like party at all the bars in Lombardy just to show how like not scared of the virus he was, right? And then like maybe a week later, the entire region of Lombardy just got shit on, right? Like this it
I
just
think this.
it just collapsed, and now the guy's like, like, oh shit, my bad, right? Yeah, I mean, there's a weird sort of take that was going on early on too, because when it was only confined in China, there was a lot of conservatives that you would see online, at least, that they would say, oh yeah, fuck, we can't trust the government or whoever to get a handle on this, so I'm gonna go and it was funny. I'm gonna go and buy masks and shit and prepare for this to come, right? I remember reading a lot of people were kind of like this, and then when it came, then it completely did a 180, and then people were like, "Fuck that! I'm not gonna wear a mask. I'm not gonna do what the government tells me to do."
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the same problem they were saying about vaccines, where people are like, why do we have anti-vaxxers, right? Because vaccines work so well that people don't see the illness that vaccines correct, and that's why they believe in this hoax. And with COVID, like I think Fauci was predicting this, that in the summertime, things are going to get better, people are restricting, but then when we see the numbers going down, people just don't think the virus is real, or they don't think it's that big of a deal. And then as they open things up, the problem is just exacerbates.
Yeah, this was one of the main things everybody was saying, like the WHO and everybody as well, Fauci and whoever, CDC people, they were all saying like, don't think that this is going to be like it's over and done with. Like this, if you relax, it might be even worse than. It might turn out to be even worse than like the first time. If people get complacent. And
I
that's
think,
exactly what
and
happened.
that was the problem, because they relaxed too fast. Like they were going to phases to reopen things up,
Mm-hmm,
and
yeah.
I feel like they were too antsy on it, or they just reopened too many things too quickly without really like watching like how things are. And when the numbers were climbing, they were very slow to react.
Oh yeah.
They just kind of let the numbers grow, and now it's at a point where it's like uncontrollable. Like we're at like 9% growth.
Yeah.
That's quite high, and we've never gone below 1. Like the best we've ever achieved was just 1, right? So we never got to a point where the virus was like dying per se,
No.
because
Yeah.
you need a growth rate of like less than 1 for it to be like showing signs that like, oh, we're gonna be like it's growing.
It's under
negatively,
control.
like dying.
It would
Yeah,
be
exactly.
manageable. Yeah, like, and then now recently the premier was saying, oh, there was the news article saying that the premier was reaching out to the federal government for a possibility to keep the possibility open of like them sending like field hospitals, right? Field hospitals from the Red
I
Cross
feel like
and the
it's a
federal
funny
government.
jump, because people are like, well, if you're ordering these field hospitals, it obviously sounds like you're not locking enough things down and you expect more people to get sick. And I think that's what's upsetting people, is that they're looking for contingencies of what if more people get sick, and they're saying like, why don't you focus on preventions versus,
Well,
you
it's
know,
just egg on his face. Either way, like it's basically he has nothing to say. Like you can tell him, you can tell when he was making that speech and when he said, "Oh, we got to do the public emergency again," but also keep in mind, so and so. He would read like anecdotal stuff. Like I just want to just repeat some of the letters, that I've gotten from people where some are small business owners. They're gonna get devastated by this, whatnot. But like he's saying it like, oh, it's a hard decision because I have to weigh everything. you read between the lines, or just take just the fucking just the hard shit analysis from it. Be like, yeah, he's just trying to say like this is when a politician says, yeah, like I can't say that I fucked up, and I can't say that like objectively we are doing the worst, and it has a big part to do with my government. So this is the speech that you make. This is the template for we fucked up speech, but now we got to do this.
Yeah, it's stupid. Didn't he just recently also like pretty much blame the South Asian community?
Yeah. So in our city, in the northeast part, that's like it's like one of the poorer parts of the city, and that's where a lot of like working class people live, especially immigrant people like Vietnamese, South Asian, Indian, Pakistani, Filipinos. They all live over there. They all do like the service sector stuff. They all do the manufacturing jobs and whatever, right? Floor hands and whatnot, right? And they are also responsible for. They are also like some of the biggest spreaders too, right? And then, well, obviously because they have to keep working, right? And then usually they don't have a say in whatever conditions. They just have to go and work. And then the premier came on like Indian radio or whatever, the Indian language radio, and then basically just put them on blast. And said basically, oh, I understand that South Asian families, Indian families, you guys like to be very hospitable. You guys like to have big family gatherings. I'm telling you that you can't do that, man. You guys are some of the biggest spreaders. And then they got pissed off. They're like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
man?
Clearly. Because he called them out pretty much exactly like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And not just like he could have just like mentioned, oh yeah, in the Northeast there's bigger spread, but I think he pretty much didn't he like exactly say like South.
It was
Asian
basically almost like it was almost like a lecture. It was like a scold,
But the best part on the icing was there's a no mask protest that was happening at the same time.
Yeah,
and
he
didn't
didn't
even
say
comment
shit
anything
about
it.
But he's basically saying that because like literally you can't really blame.
What he said about
He's to
the
blame.
protest was that people protesting should be responsible, but he didn't even condemn like large rallies or anything like that.
No, of course, that's his base, right? Those are his homies. The fucking the Indians in the Northeast, they're not his homies.
But it goes against everything that he's.
But then they posted on
quarantine.
Reddit showing like pictures of him trying to pretend they're your homies.
Yeah, they obviously
vote for me.
Every premier is gonna whore themselves for votes, right?
Yeah.
But the thing behind this is, yeah, it would be different if he said, hey, if he just went on every radio station and be like, hey, we're locking down, and like everybody just be safe or whatnot and follow the rules. No, he specifically like called them out, the poorest parts of the city, and then basically said, like it kind of like hinting, it's kind of your guys' fault. It's kind of even just in your culture because you guys are. He said it in that nice way where he's like trying to tell you that you're a piece of shit, but smiling at you.
Yeah, his exact quote for that part, or one sentence, is like, "We see a very high level of spread of COVID-19 in the South Asian community, and I don't want to say that to blame or target anyone." And then he just,
but I totally am.
Yeah,
fuck.
you totally are.
And the thing is, he is to fucking blame, right? Like, no matter how you slice it down. Like fucking, you're the government. Like this is literally in your job that if something like this happens, you're the power of government is supposed to be the handle on this, right? Like it is. It's a national, and in his case, it's a provincial wide effort that he needs to oversee for this shit to go down. And fucking, if he's gonna blame like some of the poorest parts where they have to work every day. Yeah, like how are you gonna like fucking explain this one past him? Like past anyone.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, he royally screwed himself.
Well, we'll just see. But he's, like I said, people are fucking stupid. We're all hogs. So then when it comes time for re-election, I wouldn't be surprised if he still gets a massive chunk of the vote.
Yeah, sure. People's memories are so they forget quickly.
Trump got 70 million, so that tells the story, right?
Yeah, Trump's got like a cult following. There's no cult following for Kenny.
No, but
well, I would hope not, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did have a cult following.
Yeah, that would be so. That would be.
Oh yeah, that'd be terrible.
That'd be quite sad, actually. There's no such thing as Kennyisms, and then why would people come out and vote for them? Why?
Because he represents the same beliefs they do.
Yeah, in a way, but like fucking, like we said before, like people don't come out to vote for Kennedy. They've come out to vote conservative or whoever.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. They vote for his party,
Yeah.
regardless
Party,
of
yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Whereas I
He's
think
the closest
US
we
is
got to a
more
Trump.
identified by the person, like the president.
Yeah.
No,
less than the
no.
party.
U.S. is definitely identified by the party. Like, I'm sure a quarter or a third of Trump voters are just diehard Republicans. And yeah, they're not like all crazy. They don't all like prescribe to Trumpism.
Yeah, but yeah, if a third of them are just diehard Republicans and the 2/3 are coming out for Trump,
Yeah, they are.
right? So I mean, that's the opposite. His personality, he personally is driving that amount of votes for his side, right? Like if you're gonna get, like we said last time, you're gonna get, bread and butter Republicans, like the cookie cutter Bush era and before Republicans come out, they wouldn't even amount to that much. Like most of it was Trump's people driving his numbers and the Republican numbers. Why would, like, the whole party basically debases themselves, right? They're like Mayor Quimby in that one episode of Simpsons where he's like the footstool, right? Like, why would they do that if he's not the guy bringing in the votes? Why would they have to cuck themselves like this if he's not bringing the votes?
That's true, because the Republicans are bending over backwards for Trump. It's not the other way around.
Like, well, yeah, and then
he's calling the shots.
they're playing opportunists too, right? Like if he's going to lose the election, of course they'll jump ship and they'll just consolidate in the Senate and House.
Then his biggest loyalists already jump ship. Like he was saying, there is no voter
Well,
fraud.
they haven't officially jumped ship yet, but they're staying silent, right? They're just waiting for the cards to fall, right? Like either way, they're saying as minimal as possible. They're kind of like doing the minimum amount as possible too. Like no one's gonna come out and risk their careers and be like, yeah, the fucking election was fake and the election is rigged. Yeah, totally.
I thought Bill Burr did it though. I thought Bill Burr did say the election there was no fraud in the election.
He's basically the appointee of him, so he's gonna say that. Like no matter who wins, Bill Burr doesn't have like a job, like going into the next administration, unless it's Trump, right?
Yeah.
So, but if you're Mitch McConnell, you're not gonna do that. You're not gonna fucking. You're not gonna. You're like the Senate Republicans, House Republicans. You're not gonna be like, yeah, let's put it all on red or whatever, right?
I see. If you're okay, got it.
Mitch is like the real winner in this election, hey?
Oh, for sure. Like he got exactly what he wanted.
Yeah.
Not even just this election, but like just everything. Like getting a Supreme Court of 6-3. He's done.
Yeah, and he's the only one there, right? Trump, and he got Trump out. Like Mitch is still there. Mitch chose all of that, and he has leverage in Congress. So like, big win for him.
Yeah, he fucking he consolidated that party basically and got like all literally the Republicans are way more unified than the Democrats are. And
he's gonna remove all the Trump supporters in the Republican Party over the next 4 years.
I don't know if he can do that, but he's gonna ride. Like he got everything he wanted. These judges serve for life, right? It's done. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, and if you're Joe Biden, okay, so let's just say if the Democrats come in and then they want to push to what they say are like, what's it called, stacking the court or whatever. Like, basically, if they could make changes to add more judges of a Democrat flavor, like Mitch McConnell's whole presence would counter that too, because he would be like, okay, if you try to push that, I will push some crazy ass Republican counter. If you want to if you want to try to like restack the courts to try to try to balance it out, right? So like his move is his purpose is very clear, and then him and at least his party came out of this with a win.
Well, maybe. Because Trump is so spiteful, and I think it would just be hilarious if Trump kind of gets a whiff of this, and he's just like, Mitch, that bastard, I'm gonna ruin his life.
But he's looking pretty. He doesn't have the cards anymore, right? Because he lost the election. So unless he tries to bid for like 2024 and becomes president again, and even then, if he's president, it's like not what can you really do against like members of Congress or Senate members, right? Like their whole system is set up so you have to play ball with them. So, I mean,
But Trump has like I don't even know where his influence comes from, but he has some sort of leverage over people.
I mean, of course he has influence, but it's not really in his interest to just fucking go against whoever. Like all the Senate and House people that he went against in his election during his election, like in the end they just bent over and followed suit for him, right? And yeah, you could say that he could screw over some people that that I guess went against him. Only in the case where like if they're up for re-election, like people that are Trump voters in that specific state or whoever, if they were say like like Lincoln Project anti-Trump people, he could say like, okay, well, he can try to say, oh, don't vote for this clown, vote for some guy instead that likes me on the Republican primary ticket or whatever, right? He could get revenge sort of in that way, right? But Mitch McConnell's not some no-name Republican. He's Kentucky, right?
Yep, he's Kentucky.
You can put he will win against most people in Kentucky. Like,
didn't he just win?
Yeah, exactly. So he won his seat again, right, in 2020. So like he's gonna be in there forever. Like he's gonna die in office.
Yeah, he definitely is. He's been there like as long as Biden and
yeah. He's like the same batch, the same batch of people.
Sure.
But yeah, this was I guess we talked most about this last time, and we gotta put this behind us because eventually we gotta get ready for Sleepy Joe and all the jokes and hilarity that will ensue from him.
I just love how big of a mess US is.
It always is. It's so
and
insane.
How much he has, how behind he will be to try to fix this issue.
That's like the Obama origin story. You can't rehash that.
Oh, you're talking about the financial crisis?
The whole like the Bush crisis, the wars, the financial crisis. It was like, oh, Obama inherited like a mess of the U.S.
Right.
Like, we already had this. And
every president inherited the mess from the previous president going back a couple decades. Like this country is just going down. It's not by one guy either.
The best president is probably George Washington.
The guy who started it. You could say he's the worst one because he started it. When was the worst time for America? Oh, 1776 when it became a country. Oh my god.
He would just say like, we inherited the British mess, and then
the origin story is just it's a mess. We've inherited a mess.
They've always inherited a mess, exactly. But I'll make it better by being your president.
Like, yeah, I feel like one of these days we should just do an episode on just talking about this shit about America and fucking going deep into it. One of these days when we're actually we gotta like
in tons of episodes of that.
Yeah, you'd have to start with Rome.
I guess we can. Yeah, like if we're gonna go really fucking, Picasso abstract, yeah, we can start from the birth of Western civilization. Yeah.
No. Well, U.S. is kind of like directly the protege of like Rome, the Roman Republic, right? The two senates and
Well, I wouldn't say direct protege. Like it stems from something like it's like. Every kind of civilization after Rome kind of wants to LARP as Rome in some ways, right? But it's not like they're direct. There's no way they're not even directly descended from. I don't think realistically you can say there's a direct link. I know what you mean. Yeah, they're definitely
the styles like
they're LARPing it definitely.
It's not like then you're not gonna be like, oh, this guy used to be Roman.
The inspiration of obviously Western civilization inspiration. Yeah, you can make that point. That's a pretty. I think a lot of people would probably agree with that. But one of these days we can fucking deep dive into that shit. But I don't know, like. Brian and Jason, I don't think they really give a shit too much about American history. So it's like I don't know.
I kind of just jump to the end. I don't care about the origin.
Yeah, when you read history, you go from present time, and then go backwards, which is probably a much more it can make a lot more sense than just watching a movie backwards.
I wish I could see the actual end. The end of America. That'd be great.
Oh man,
Well, I mean,
you can see
the vaccine
analogs.
thing.
You can see analogs in history for sure. But yeah, I know what he's going. Go forward in time. Yeah, maybe you can
Well,
see
I
like.
think
Oh,
I saw a recent poll, like going to what Jason said at the end of U.S. is that 50% of people are confident in the vaccine, 50% aren't, around 50%. And so, if the whole COVID thing could get them, then it could be the end of U.S.
yeah, I don't know.
Take a lot.
I think there'll just be some Chinese artist did like a rendering of like the COVID attitude or whatever, and it was just like it was a Roman Colosseum for America, and it was like a Roman Colosseum, and it was like, all the old people were like the the victims of all the gladiators on the ground, and it's basically they're like you all have comorbidities, and then they were basically fed to the tigers of that were the coronavirus in this Colosseum, and I can't help but always like have a flashback to that fucking moron that went on like Tucker Carlson and was basically saying like, yeah, I'm an old guy, but I would urge every old person to go out and be in society and work and contribute to the economy. I would lead the charge because we gotta sacrifice ourselves for the country, just like all our brave women and men and women during all those world wars. It's our patriotic duty to sacrifice our lives for the economy. Yeah, we should definitely do one of these things one of these days when we're really bored and got nothing else to do. But I think Bmoney has a treat for us today, and then you want to kick it off. I think you had an AI treat for us.
Well, what do we call this segment? Like the turtleneck segment?
The turtleneck.
Do we have names for our segments?
I
thought we just talked.
You do. There's a title on the YouTube.
Techno-liberal turtleneck wearing bastard piece of shit segment.
Well, it's just the idea that we taught AI how to play chess and we taught AI how to play Go, and they can figure out strategies, they can see lines, they can see moves ahead and things like that. But so far, from what I've seen, is they're really terrible at accepting draws. So like when you're playing an AI in chess, you can offer a draw, and if your opponents accept the draw, then you draw the game. But whenever you offer a draw to an AI, they always deny it. And even in chess, there are known positions that will go to a draw. So like you don't want to play it out as a normal person. Like if you're playing with someone and you're both like knowledgeable in chess, and you get to that position, you're like, oh, let's just draw, right? Like why play it out? But for a computer, you have to play it out because it just doesn't know when to give up until the rules of the game says like there are certain states in the game where if you only have 2 kings left, or if you each only have a king left, or you have a certain piece combination left, then it would be a draw. So until the computer gets to that state, it won't accept the normal draw. And so I'm just curious why we haven't programmed an AI to accept the draw, and if it's endearing that an AI will still play things out, even when things are, if it's endearing that a computer plays things out, even though it's hopeless to win, or if it's just like poor sports and it always forces you to play it out, even though it can't win, kind of thing.
Maybe,
so I'm just curious what.
Maybe the AI doesn't give a shit about a draw.
Yeah, kind of. In a way, I think that makes sense because it's got nothing to lose by continuing to play. Because by continuing to play, if the opponent makes a mistake, then it still has a chance to win.
Right, but like I think that's the issue, is because it doesn't think it has anything to lose. But like for an AI, maybe in its mind is like, this is my last game, right, of existence. If I don't finish this game,
want to program sentience into them and value.
I wanted to recognize
something?
like, hey, I'm playing with a person. They have their time is valuable. Like, why should I waste it? Like, I just kind of want that consideration, or have it understand like, hey, AI, you're not. This is not your only game. You have other games to play. Let's save your energy.
But
Be conservative.
you're imposing not those are not rules of the game,
Those
right?
are not rules of the game. Yes.
You're imposing a situation where you want them to act less optimal for etiquette, I guess.
Also,
Yeah, because they don't have to give consideration to time. Because I highly doubt they would be programmed to be like, oh, you know what, this is wasting an hour I could be used to do something else, when that's all they're programmed to do is just play the game.
Also, I'm finding it kind of funny that what you want to get out of the AI is you want them to consider drawing a chess game.
Right.
Well, I want it to be respectable, like knowing like, hey, I'm in a position where this game is gonna end in a draw. Like then that if someone offers a draw, it's like yes, accept.
Man,
Or
talk
I also
about
want- I
aiming
wa-
for the stars, man.
I also want the AI to offer draws because, like, let's say the AI is losing, but you know how like the way chess look at engine is, we believe in them as the gospel, the God. Like they always see lines that are 100% right. They never make mistakes, right? But what if you can teach an AI to make mistakes, but then offer draws to like trick people?
But
And
what
I
are you
will.
what are
I
you
can only
trying to
see
get with the
them-
draw? Like what
I
do
can
you...
only see them programming a draw situation for an AI by giving them like a no-win situation, and then they would offer it. I don't know if there's any AIs right now that are programmed to do so, but that's the only way I could see that it would make sense.
I think what I'm trying to get at with is having AI to think a little bit more human, like.
I don't
Like draw,
think-
I think accepting a draw is like a very human thing. It's definitely not a computer thing.
Why? Okay, but you're trying to get the computer to replicate a fault within us, right?
Accepting a draw is not a fault. It's
It totally
considered.
is. No,
No, it's
Playing it out-
considered.
no. Playing out is Pareto optimal to a draw. If you are in a position where you are unable to lose, there's no reason to give a draw because you can't lose, right? So worst case scenario, your output is going to be 0. You're going to get 0 points at optimal play.
No,
You're gonna get
you
0.
still get points for a draw. I think
You
it's
get
like half.
Right, but if you're in a position you can't lose, you're already guaranteed half a point, right?
Yeah.
So no matter what you do, you're guaranteed that half. But if your opponent messes up, you get a chance at 1. So by offering a draw, your expected value would be 0.5, but playing it out is going to be 0.5 plus the probability of your opponent messing up.
Right.
So you're
so
better
that's
off
why
by
I
playing
could
out.
only that's why I can only see them offering a draw if they are in a losing situation.
Sure. I
even
mean, if
then-
you're using game theory, yeah. If you're only evaluating
if you're-
this about points, then sure, yeah, that makes sense. But like when people play chess, there's other things to evaluate, like your energy, your time. Like again, people like let's say you're playing
But
Monopoly,
computers don't have to
you
worry
can tell
about
like
that.
this game's gonna go on for a while, and it's likely gonna be like no one's gonna win, like in Risk or whatever. Sometimes you're just like, call it a draw. I don't want to play this out, right? And people are like, yeah,
Yeah.
let's not spend 5 hours.
But
on
AI
this.
doesn't have like a bedtime or need food or anything.
Plus, in this
Yeah,
case,
it doesn't.
in this case, if it was a draw, why would that be like a human thing to do? If you're gonna talk about the AI just wanting to be optimized to try to win points and shit, the draw would be 0.5 is better than 0. I mean, like that wouldn't necessarily be some like kind of human empathetic empathy that would be taken into account. Maybe they just take the draw because it's better than the loss. I don't see why this is a big fucking deal. This is why this
Actually,
is a turtleneck.
That's actually an interesting point. Like, let's say you're in a winning position and you're going to beat the AI and you offer it a draw.
Okay.
Shouldn't it be like, hey, this is more advantageous because I'm losing. I have no way of winning. I can accept the draw.
No, that's what I was saying. That it should only consider draws if it's in a like pretty much lose situation.
But it would be kind of strange because if I'm in a position where I feel like I can't win and somebody offers me a draw, that kind of signals to me that they feel like they're in a position where they don't see the win either.
Oh, jeez. The human meta.
So then I would not
Deeper
accept the draw
dive.
because I'm like, okay, now the chance of them messing up is higher because they don't see the win that I see. Because if they saw that win, they would have taken it. right? So then, as a computer, I would not accept a draw either.
You know,
Oh,
in the high stakes game of chess, where you live vicariously just on the edge every day, yes, I can see someone just sweating bullets thinking about what the AI is thinking when he offers you the draw. I mean, holy shit! Talk about low. No. Talk about low stakes. I mean, sometimes I find myself feeling like, why the fuck are we talking about this at all? But this is great. This is what makes this what it is. Bmoney.
Turtleneck discussion.
Yeah, the turtleneck discussion. Why?
But that's why I think it's great. Like, because we think of engines as like gods, when it offers a draw, maybe people will be like, "Oh, I'm gonna take the draw because I can't be an engine." You know, and then the engine's like, "Oh, I was in the losing position, but I offered a draw to get a win." But like, I feel like you could teach you might see offering a draw as a weakness, but it also can be a strength if you can play to it, right? Because by bluffing, yeah, exactly.
I kind of want. Okay, this kind of okay. You know what? You can finish first, and then this kind of brings up something that is actually important. It's actually important. I mean it in the nicest way possible.
Just make your point.
Basically talking about the empathy. Like, that's the thing that would I bet would fascinate every human existing. Like, if you get the AI, and like, even just talking about this, it's clear that we can't really even conceptualize too much what AI would be kind of like. Like, we're ascribing like sentience to things like even just drawing in like battling to a draw in the chess game. I mean, like, AI in the future, like what do people want the AI to behave like? Like are people imagining like a fucking Star Wars thing where it's like C-3PO and R2-D2 and they have like fucking this, I don't know, this like human like fucking personalities and shit? Or, you know, like what is it? Like, is it going to be like just fucking this cold, omnipotent sort of fucking voice that just powers your Alexa and shit? Like, what is it do you want? Like, what would scare you in the future where it's like AI so advanced and it can be
Wait, I thought you asked us what you want.
What do you want, and what kind of... Well, it kind of ties in. Well, like, what do you want, and also what kind of scares you? Because I guarantee you, even within our little discussion here between the four of us, what one guy thinks will be cool, it might be scary as fuck to the other person, right? If you think, hey, I want an AI to be literally think like a human and have emotions like a human and fucking be sentient, someone else might be like, you know what, sentient kind of fucking scares me. Because what are you talking about? Like, the AI has emotions, it can get angry, it can get jealous. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what do you guys think?
Has anyone played Detroit Beyond Human?
No.
I have not.
Is that related?
But it's basically like robots and shit that are indistinguishable from humans, right? In that time.
Yeah, they look exactly like humans, and they have like they kind of behave exactly like humans, but people basically own them as, in a way, slaves, you know,
right.
Assistants and stuff like that, maids and caretakers and everything like that. So you could order them around. They understand English and everything, and they can have conversations with you and everything.
What's the plot of that again?
It goes through a bit, but it's like essentially some AI, some of them start to develop sentience, so they can make decisions on their own. They can refuse or commands and everything like that. And
they can experience like emotions, I guess.
Yeah. So like one of the robots, for example, is a caretaker. She looks after a kid, and the father is like abusive and everything. So they run away together, like the robot and the little girl, and she just kind of like takes care of her and stuff like that. And yeah.
See, from that, cause I wanted to ask you that because from that, it seems like whoever was thinking about this, like the plot, the game developer, the writer for this fucking plot for that game, for them, like, imagine a world where AI is so advanced that it has sentient. He or she, had to still ascribe, or whatever, had to still ascribe like human emotion to robots. And when they're thinking, hey, this super advanced society where robotics, AI has advanced to this point, he's still like the go-to thought for him was emotion. Like, oh, the robot spends all this time with raising a kid. It must, like, I want it to have emotional attachment. That's the sentient, I guess, consciousness of this robot will necessarily evolve into something that humans experience. Like, that's his reference point, right? Advancedness to them is basically human, right? But
Yeah.
I don't know if it will actually be like that. If it was going to be sentient, I don't even think like it would just go for emotion, right? I like, it would be cool to have a fucking robot buddy, but when I'm thinking about, like, just they're on a whole totally different level and playing field of their abilities, right? I don't think it will manifest itself into emotion or something like that. I think it'll be like a cold,
Skynet?
yeah, it'll be like a cold calculating thing, like maybe no voice or even that has to be ascribed to it. Nothing, like, because that's also a human thing. Like, oh, you expect to communicate it to you like that, but no, it's more like, yeah, like you said, Skynet, just fucking this panopticon sort of deal.
Cold calculating, like you
Yeah,
said.
nothing human about it. Like, their sentient couldn't have absolutely nothing to do with emotion.
Yeah,
Well,
you would
I
think they
think
would
I
deem
agree with you.
emotions unnecessary.
Well, see, here's the thing: you guys are thinking it's evil or whatever. Like, evil.
Well, I don't
is
think. No,
also
no, I don't think
emotion.
it's evil. I just think it'll be inhuman, whether you take
okay.
that as
It's an
evil or not.
efficiency thing.
Well, when you say the word emotions are necessary, it's like what a evil robot would say, right?
Well, yeah, well, that's more or less that drives and that is like some, in a way. And I'm not a philosopher. I am just a fucking guy that's usually sits around in my underwear.
I mean, isn't
but
that what a philosopher is?
yeah, okay, then you have a point. I don't know. They're all bums anyways, right? Anyways, yeah, like, inhuman to you, or to a lot of people, to me too, to us, inhuman is something that we don't want. We want human, right? Like, inhuman is like a negative thing to us because when we imagine like things that we like or we're positive about or comforts us, we want to imagine people to be more human, right? It's a scary thing to say something is inhuman. Hey,
Oh.
did I cut out?
Your mic cut out.
Yeah.
Oh shit! What did I end up at?
I have no idea. It was for quite a few seconds. It was
Oh,
like
wow.
5 seconds.
You're just getting into it too.
Oh shit. Okay. Basically, I'm saying inhumanness is a very negative, scary thing to us. We want things to be human. Like, that's something that's kind of like ingrained in us. So, like, yeah, to you make a point, you make that thought that a lot of people would think about, where, okay, if this other thing that's very advanced and can think for itself, if it's not human, a lot of people are going to think automatically evil, something that's very scary and
Or negative.
Yeah. But and even to me, yeah, it seems scary as all. But objectively, if you're just talking about this in the vacuum, pretend like you don't try to be as like neutral about this as possible. Inhuman, human, they're just fucking descriptions of state, right? Like, I'm thinking it'll definitely be inhuman.
It has to be, I think so too.
But, like, I think the main thing that people will grapple about, and society and would grapple about, would be this inhumanness. Like, I don't think people are ready to kind
Yeah, I
of
think
cope with
here's
something
the
like
thing:
that.
we have to understand, like, how an AI thinks and how humans think are very different, right? Like, AI thinks very binary, whereas humans, we have I wouldn't say it's like artificial intelligence. It's like we have a really different way of experience, how our brain works, right? I think our brain works through experiences. That's one way of describing it. And, like, for us, we have senses, right? We have touch, feel, taste, smell, and all that stuff, and all those are constrained in a certain boundary. Like, for colors, for us, we know certain colors, but there's no way, if someone asks you, like, can you invent a new color? It's very difficult. It's almost impossible for us to invent a new color because our reference of color all comes from our biology, right? For a computer, like, if a human is trying to explain to a computer what color is, it wouldn't understand it in our words. All it can understand is like wavelength or like, RBG values or things like
But
that.
you have the wrong starting point because
Gorgeous.
because you can't start with what humans see. The color spectrum exists outside of our limitations.
Well, no. What I'm trying to describe is, so there's three states, I guess. One is the color outside, and then there's the perception of it, right? A human perception, a robot perception, or a computer's perception.
Okay.
And so the thing outside exists, but the things that's internal to us exist as well. But it's hard for us to translate to the other person what that is, right? Like for example, if you and I see red, but there's no way for me, and this is like the basics of philosophy, but there's no way for me to know that the same red you see is the same red I see, right?
Right.
Like you could see a totally different color
Because
but
red
because
doesn't exist.
but like
Red
no, what
doesn't
I'm
mean
saying
anything.
is well like let's say
Right.
something simpler. Let's say you see the color that you see. If I was in your head, I would say, oh,
No,
that's
no,
blue.
it's very simple, Brian. How about this? I can tell you where there exists light, and I can tell you where something doesn't exist light, and we would know the same thing, right?
Yeah. So what matters is how we communicate, right?
I'm getting
Like,
flashbacks to Vegas where you're like numbers don't exist. It's not a real thing.
Well, okay. What I'm trying to say is, like, we have a way of communicating with each other, like what red is, right? And that's all that matters for our day-to-day interaction with each other, right? But in reality, I still will never know what red is in your head. And I think for computers, when we're thinking about inhuman and all that stuff, it's about like what is the computer thinking and am I safe with them, right? Where we have to think like they don't think like us. They don't have they're not driven by the same thing we're driven by, like, you know, survival or whatever it is. They may be driven by different things, right? Or maybe they're they're very different.
Yeah, of course. Because we're humans. When we talk to other humans, when we talk and shit, it's basically our shared experience as humans, fucking, relaying this shit to each other. Machines do it way differently, of course. But remember,
So I think
it's. I am talking about our perception of it, and even earlier when I just said it's inhuman. You basically said, oh, so, so the machines, you're describing them to have an evil feeling, right? But even just saying that, like, just you saying inhuman and equating it to evil, like, that's something that shit, again?
Just saying inhuman and equating is where you left off.
Basically, yeah, that's a human thing. Like, we think about that of reality in terms of that. Right, like
so I see what AI is just they're like a really fancy calculator. Like it's like ask Google. You ask them stuff, it does calculations, it does all these things. And I think what'd be nice is if they can sprinkle in human tendencies just to interact with us, where they
so
rather
you want
than
it to
saying,
be
like,
wrong. Basically, you just want it to be more
no,
incorrect.
no. I want it to communicate in ways that we would understand, right?
I think everybody would want that, because everybody, when they think about AI, we think C-3PO or Jarvis from Iron Man, right?
We don't want someone to tell us.
Or you want the computer, like if you want the robot nanny looking after kids, you kind of want that robot nanny to develop feelings of protection and feeling.
Hold on. I don't want those things.
Well, no.
Don't speak for everyone. I want it to be objective. I don't want it to be human at all.
Well, you may not want it, but when we talk about this stuff,
nutritious.
The aggregate of human
under the academic level.
But what does a human? The aspect of human that you're introducing is inconsistency. You want to introduce a level of inconsistency, a level of decreased precision, right? Just for the benefit of convenience.
Wait. Why do you think these are bad attributes? Why do you think? Why would you feel like just because we're not as accurate as computers, we're not as good as them?
If you're less precise, you're pretty much less good.
But we're not even talking about like
of it in a different way. I think different AIs have to be that kind of, just calculating perfectly efficient, but other ones should be more human in a sense. So like ones that you want to like communicate with regularly, then those ones should be more human, should be able to talk to you like a normal person. But ones that like say drive your car or something, they should be completely calculating, efficient, and less human in a way.
Yeah, my larger point in all this was basically we can't really even conceive of this yet. No matter how we do it, when we think about like interacting with whatever, even Jason said, you would want one to act like a human or whatever, right? Like we can't. Like even when we're talking about it right now, the four of us can't even come to like some kind of consensus of what the hell, like some kind of advanced whatever AI would be like. And like our conception of it is all different. No, depending on how much like human attributes you ascribe to it, giving it a personality or some shit, right?
So you guys feel the personality is important for the robot?
I think
For
it's
some.
inevitable.
Communications.
For
I would think
the
it's
aggregate of humanity is inevitable. Like when individuals like you may not care if you have like a robot nanny and you know like you don't care if it's attached to your kid or not. But I would probably bet to say of the majority of people, if this happened, if this was a thing in the future, they would want the nanny to have like a soft, empathetic
Or
side.
even like fake it. Like they just wanted to like pretend it cares.
Yeah, even just that. Of course, it'll be an illusion.
It has to pretend. It can't really care.
Exactly. Of course, it will
Yes,
be. It
exactly.
It will have to be an illusion.
But that's the thing.
Well, it's not even
People are
pretending
people
because it's
are
just programmed to be
pigs,
like that.
hogs.
Yeah, it's
We're-
just-
But
we're all
no,
dumb.
but
We
it's
might believe it cares.
yeah, but it's different. It's because at that point we're talking about AI can think for itself, right? It can deduce all these things for itself. It can, like it's machine learning, right? It will go through the learning process. You don't have to program it or whatever. But for us, we can't make that bridge gap, right? Like even when people are thinking, when you ask people to think about what does an alien look like to you, they still ascribe the alien having eyes, hands, and legs and whatever, like some kind of humanoid body for most people, right? Like it's hard for us to think about something that's just not like us at all.
And that kind of ties into what Brian was saying about color. It's hard to imagine a color that you don't already know exists. Like you can't conceive of an entity like an AI, like an AI robot, and how it would play out because it doesn't exist. So we can't really like understand what
Yeah,
it would.
that's exactly it. Because
Yeah, exactly.
even if you're trying to explain color to someone who's colorblind or blind,
Yeah, of
it's-
course.
they have no reference.
You're
You can't
you're
be
yeah
like,
you're putting your experience of how you know it, right? And communicating it with other people, and it's our shared experience, of course. But it's easiest. It's in a way it's kind of easiest for to kind of conceptualize this about color, because yeah, you're right. It's a spectrum. Red's not gonna look. It's not. It doesn't exist as how we view red, right? But when you expand it away from just something as simple as color, right? And you expand it to something in society, and you talk about relations, then like if you think about how complex it was just to try to ask someone to conceptualize color, in a non-human way, and not how your eyes see it, then when it comes to relations between like AI and people, that's just magnitudes much more harder to conceptualize and explain away. Like for most people, I kind of want to bet that most people, when they think about AI, automatically they ascribe a human personality to it. Be like, oh, if there's machine learning, that means, fucking it'll be like us. And you take it farther, human emotions. Like, like most of these sci-fi shows and games are fucking, one of the main tenets is always, does the AI have how much human emotion have you made the AI to have?
Yeah, because I think they're assuming in all those stories that everything else for AI had been figured out, and the last thing was like emotion. And when they solve that, it means like, oh, they've already solved everything else.
Yeah, and to me, it just seems like that's the artist putting their conception into it. Like that's how they think of it, right? Whenever I see this, it's like, oh yeah, that's how they want to imagine whatever this thing that is unimaginable, and more often than not, it always turns out to be something that's more like us than not.
They try to build it more like us, but honestly, for me, I don't think I don't view that as being important, because when like all my devices and all the computers that we use, the things that are most useful to me are never the human interactions. Like
so you're telling me it's not important that Siri says thank you or good morning. You don't care about
Or
that
even
stuff?
the tone of voice.
I'm saying you use your alarm more than you care about how Siri sounds.
See, I thought it was interesting because there's a parent that their kids talk to their Siri a lot, and they realize the kid doesn't say thank you because you don't say thank you to your computer, right?
Okay.
And then the kid's behavior is like that with like regular adults and stuff, and then the parents had to start adjusting. They had to start saying thank you to the Google Assistant and stuff as a way of teaching the child like what's the correct behavior around people. Or
that's where it gets to like an interesting and dangerous point, right? Earlier when Zen asked about what's like the scariest things, if we rely on that at some point, we're all going to depend on what the algorithm was already set for us to learn. Then that we kind of take one step closer to being like everyone being predetermined, right?
What?
Well, we're all sheep.
Like, because if he's saying right now these children who are being raised and interact with Siri all the time, they don't learn etiquette that's outside of Siri.
Yeah.
So basically, they are their development is being influenced by these computers, and if it's more and more that way, then every children they would just learn the same things and they'll learn the same way.
So then this is you praising inconsistency. This is you acknowledging the good in inaccuracy.
Aside from that, I just feel like like when these mannerisms are just a part of human relations and interactions, right? So I mean, like, I just feel like, you're gonna come in towards some awkwardness in development because it would, like, you'd commit a faux pas in the relations and society with people. But I mean, if you ascribe doom to that, it's basically just saying like it's basically saying like from the perspective of society, you feel like that would be something that would be detrimental. But I'm like, the overall picture, if you're imagining society as more than just human, and like, well, what you perceive the world and shit to be more than human, like it. I don't feel like it's some kind of like doomer thing. Like if the kid is more comfortable around robots and is really awkward around humans and shit. I mean, it's already like that without robots. You have fucking like NEETs and shit and introverts that don't feel comfortable interacting with other people and don't want, like, at the extreme, like they can't or they don't or they're scared of, and you already have stuff like that. And it's not like it's trending towards something dangerous, right?
I just think it's just easy for the information to just be manipulated. If everyone's growing up learning, interacting with like Siri, reading the things Siri tells you to, and then somebody else takes over Apple.
But wait, it's already like that now. I mean, like, it's way more like that now. Because
that's why
we have our agendas as people, right? Like as people and larger groups of people and fucking the power relations. It is already like that now. You don't even have to wait for AI for that to happen. You're living it.
Yeah, it's just
becoming more of it, more and more each day.
It's becoming more obvious each day because the contradictions are fucking like are making the structure fall apart. It's always been like that though, right? 50 years of Cold War is not some fucking natural thing. It's a human invention. We did that. Like
we did do.
Yeah, it's always been like that. Like like if AI just turns out to be the same, that would in fact be kind of underwhelming. It'd be like, oh shit, it does the same shitty stuff that we do already. We live in that reality already. Yeah, don't worry about the AI feeding misinformation. We already live like that, man. We go to sleep, we eat, we shit in that world already.
I think, well, information is kind of interesting because I think for us, you can question it, like the way you're raised. You can question it because your parents and adults have inconsistencies in what they tell you to do. And then once you hear the inconsistencies, you can question it. But if you're growing up with like AI, there could be a world where there is no inconsistency in the things they tell you. And even right now, right? Like,
again, I have to push back again because we can see confidently.
I just want to push the.
Okay.
I just want the viewers to recognize the inconsistency Phil is bringing up. Because before you were like,
no shame.
Why are we teaching chess to accept, or why are we teaching AI to accept draws? You're making it weaker, right? You're like not being consistent. But then now you're saying the positives about being inconsistent.
Yep. Because
Oh, okay.
because we don't want AI to be inconsistent. We want us people to, like, that's like
Oh,
a
I see.
innate like quality of humans is we are
So you want that
irrational or
line in the
imperfect.
sand where it's like, you're an AI, you can't be imperfect.
Right.
Imperfect.
I don't want a computer to be imperfect because
Oh, I see.
we are already imperfect. Why would we want to create something that's just like bad? We want
I
to create something that's polished and good.
Okay. Thank
all
you for
right.
clarifying.
Oh man,
I
Phil
got it.
with the counter. Yeah. You got-
No, it's not. I just
No,
wanted to
he's right.
understand
No,
where
I
Phil's
mean
answer.
he clarified what. Yeah, it's consistent with what he's saying. Like for him, contradiction and inconsistency is a human trait. So that's how he described it, right? Like I don't necessarily see it that way. Like it's not limited to those, but I understand. Yeah, you can make a point about it. Yeah. But the one thing I wanted to kind of get back to is, um, that is objectively not what you see in people. Like people are not in the aggregate, and this is one of those phenomenon where it applies to a lot of things, especially when you look at society, history, sociology, economics, and everything. You find out, like the individual and an aggregate, they're almost like two separate entities if you have to analyze it correctly, right? And in the aggregate, you can tell that people in the masses, they don't think like there's no questioning. Like the majority of people, you're brought up in this environment where like you lean a certain way, your ideology is a certain way, your whatever whatever the fuck you define as values a certain way, like buy into that wholesale, like wholesale to the point where you still have outliers, or there you have edgy people, or you have people that are just against the flow. Those are literally marginal errors compared to how much and how many people just follow the program, right? So already, I gotta say again, like already we live in this world where most of the people just follow unquestioningly whatever the hell it is that they've always known to be their reality, right? Like I mean, one of the things in history, like the whole reason revolutions are always violent, is not just because when people are advocating revolution, they're evil people that want to see death and destruction. No, it's just the change itself is so tremendous and huge and just fucking a massive event, because people are so ingrained to the current existence or whatever, and how society is structured. When there's a change into that, there's a massive reaction to that. Like there's necessarily almost like a burning of the forest, just because of how wide, how much people, and how much they just fucking go with the flow. Basically, I think that's the gist of it. And yeah, I mean, like with AI, to me, it's kind of different, because with AI, I feel like in a way, like I think the opposite things of what you're saying would kind of be, well, there's what you're saying. Some of it will still be true because we're still humans and whatnot, right? But I mean, I'm not gonna think like people are gonna be. If you're saying people are afraid of, yeah, like some AI is gonna, fucking be forming the narrative and shit, I'm gonna be like, why would the AI even need to, like? It's a human thing to get everybody to fucking follow a narrative. Why? Like, there's no.
Yeah.
It's
AI
so
doesn't care what
unnecessary.
you think.
Yeah, it's so
AI doesn't
unnecessary,
care what you think.
right?
No,
Like,
the
those
AI
are
won't
things.
care. The AI is just gonna do it anyways because that's what it was programmed initially to do, and
But-
we're just gonna run. But it's I think,
But that's
that-
an assumption, though. You're
Yeah,
assuming that.
yeah,
what
exactly.
would
Like,
happen.
yeah, exactly. It's still a human. This is, I would say, this is your human your human condition that you're ascribing to this AI that you're imagining, right?
Oh, I don't doubt that. I
Yeah.
wouldn't disagree with that. I think one thing we all need to know is like every humans, nobody's objective, right? Or just like
We can't. Yeah,
all-
we're all implicitly biased because we're people. We can't think. We can't even. The farthest we can go is try to ascribe it to like as less humanity as possible. But still, we're bound by our humanity that we can't really, like you said. We're unbiased. I mean, we're biased towards ourselves in trying to conceptualize these things.
And I mean, AI and computers will also be biased for themselves in their own way, and it feels like we don't want that. We don't want them to be biased, but we want them to be human. Which
Well, the thing is, I don't know, like if this if you could call that bias. I don't know what the fuck we would call it, but like the machine is. If we're thinking about like cold machine logic, I mean, like, wouldn't that be technically like very unbiased? It's just going by its own calculations in the algorithm. I mean, unless it's experience, its learning experience gives it a bias.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just by zeros and ones, there's not really subjectiveness in that. It's objective, 0 or 1, right? Like Brian
Unless
said, it
one
was binary.
programmed bias.
Yeah, I mean, like, so that's why it's fucking folding my smooth brain. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. That's why it didn't make sense for me why like a computer would offer a draw, because if it's programmed to like operate.
I'm not saying it should make.
I think the scope is just bigger than a fucking chess game. That's what I'm just. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah.
I guess with how it would relate to like a real life is like if you apply that algorithm to like an arms race, would the computer, if like you had an AI as an advisor, right? Would the AI suggest, hey, like, you know what, if we both keep building nukes, you know, it's not gonna work out. Like, we should just offer a draw. Like, could the AI do that or not?
I don't know. Like, you can get I think the supercomputers we have right now are, I guess, strong enough to run a bunch of mass Zergrush calculations and shit to try to calculate a lot of game theory
in
stuff.
the sense the Cold War is a draw in the sense that no one nuked each other. They just decided, hey, let's not nuke each other.
Well,
Then
I mean,
play
like,
it out kind of
no,
thing,
it's well, I mean, like, fucking, in a way, you could say, like, yeah, if your objective was just fucking the annihilation of humanity, yeah, that objective wasn't achieved. But for us, for people, when we the two sides that ascribe their objectives and shit, they probably wouldn't say that, right? I mean, I think it's hard to say what they even use AI for. I mean, like, right now, like, you can use it for, like I said, mass calculations and shit, right? So they use it for calculating, like, you know, space trajectories and whatever.
That's exactly what would you use the AI for.
But I mean, like,
more math.
I mean, like, how much can you? But how? It's the trouble for me on
How much math can it do?
No, well, the trouble for me on using it this way is like those decisions you can only game them out to a certain extent, and then because, like, in the example of the Cold War, it's two human people, like, human sides, you know, like, fucking that are the players here, right? I mean, like, right now, you use the supercomputers to calculate whatever space trajectories. It's all objective numbers and shit, you know, gravity calculations, mass calculations, whatever. And then when they game it out, they just run millions of fucking calculations to calculate, you know, all the possibilities that way.
You know what
but with people, it's nothing objective. We're not constants, right? You can't just put the constant of gravity in there and then get the AI to calculate a million different, like, possibilities. It's just, you know, like, at some points of the Cold War, it's basically just like one guy that decided, I'm not going to press the button because the radar looks like it's malfunctioning, and it's not, and, you know, I don't think it's just a bunch of ICBMs flying into the sky, right?
You know what'd be great though? Or sorry, did you finish your thought?
Go ahead.
His last word was "and."
No, go ahead.
And that's my turn. I just want to say, I would think it's great that, you know how, like, with chess AI, it tells you, like, your mistakes, your blunders, or your accuracy. That when it gets to a level where it can, like, analyze, like, your sports and stuff, and you know how they always interview someone to be like, oh, during this moment, why did you take the shot? And they're like, oh, I just felt like I can make it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That would be great if AI could be like, that was a blunder. You had a, like, 1% chance, and if you had passed to this guy, you would have done way better. I just love that.
We already do that. Hindsight is always easier.
Yeah, that's true. Hindsight.
True.
We're always a slave to hindsight too, right? Cause, like, when people apply that retroactively and, you know, like, fucking in hindsight, obviously in hindsight 2020, you can look back and be like, oh yeah, they messed up. But obviously during the time, yeah, you can't say that during the time.
I feel like with AI's calculation, it's in a way a hindsight, right? Because it can predict so far ahead based on.
But even then, it's still a prediction.
AI can predict the future.
I think you can give some solid numbers of predictions, but at the end, if you're going to ascribe the human world and all the things, crazy shit that people think about, like it's always just gonna be a chance. You're always gonna have another chance that shit just goes different, sideways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's also you can't really predict human nature or like what a human will do 100%.
I mean, okay, just the most, yeah, exactly. But in the more like, relatable things for us, I guess, in contrast to like a machine, would be, I'm just gonna go back to the Cold War example, right? Maybe on the radar glitch, for whatever operator is looking at it, if it was AI, they could run the calculations and be like, what is the possibility that what we're seeing on radar is, fucking the United States or Russia launching their ICBM strikes, right? And it'll just run all this analytics and whatnot. And it'll come up with a probability and it'll act on that probability. But the human looking at the radar, there's some bias in there thinking that if this shit is going down, it means the end of the world. Like, we're all dead. All your family's dead. Everybody's pretty much going to die. So in that, it's a lot of the hesitation that you hear from these stories during the Cold War. Most of it is people saying like, let's wait and see, right? Just because of that human like feeling in them, where it's like, this could have been the end. So they're kind of like, they hold off because they want to gamble. They want to hope that, this isn't nuclear Armageddon, so let's not fucking fire our own counter nukes yet, right? And I think that's one of the things that at least you can say, like, maybe that's how the AI would probably be different from the human.
Bluffing. Yeah, I think we mentioned that.
Like the fear.
They program bluffing.
Okay, but in a holistic sense, kind of like that fear, right? It is from this emotion, like you want to live.
They program bluffing. They should be able to do it in chess AI, where it offers a draw.
No, because chess is a game where you have perfect information. You can't bluff in a game with perfect information. But AI can bluff in poker because
But you could totally bluff in perfect information, like normal players do. Well, I guess
no, they don't bluff.
Maybe in our
make
world,
mistakes.
it's not perfect information.
You call it a bluff, but the computer calls that a blunder. I mean,
Yeah, with like poker or something, there's still the chance. But with chess, there's more calculated moves. All the pieces are on the board. Whereas, poker, you got the deck where you don't know exactly, even the AI won't know exactly where a card is.
but I remember this one hand I watched. It was a couple years ago where they had it was three-way poker, two humans against an AI, and the AI did like the craziest bluff ever. There was like both players had flushes. The AI had nothing, but he had the ace high flush, the ace of the flush kind, and the AI bluffed it because he suspected that the other two had the flush but didn't have the ace, so they could not call the AI, and the AI bluffed it.
Maybe the AI also did some shitty, crazy computer analytics where they analyze the people's behaviors and be like, this guy is not likely to fucking call it.
But like, if you're jumping that logic, I mean, yes, chess is a game where it's a known problem, but at the same time, if it knows that, like, hey, I'm in a losing position, I could offer a draw to gain a better point score.
Jesus.
Then it also has to understand that, like, hey, people are going to catch on that I only offer draws if I'm in a losing position. So I have to also know to bluff enough to make the wrong calls so that people don't notice patterns, right? So
Well, you'd also have to do it in a timing sense too, because it's like, what if it offers a draw after the very first move? Like, the person moves their first pawn up, and it's like, okay, you want to draw? Because, it's calculated, 52% chance that I'll lose.
That's what an AI is going to do in the beginning, to run scenarios to figure out what is the optimal way to offer draws. Because that's how it learns Go, right? It plays games by itself. So I feel like once you can teach a AI to draw, it's going to learn what's the optimal way to offer a draw.
But this stemmed from you wanting the AI to give players respect and not waste time, right? So it feels like
that's
if they're losing, if I'm losing and I'm like, I think this guy is a crap player and he can't actually beat me, so I'm going to offer him a draw, or he's not smart enough to. Isn't that like the opposite? It's like, I don't respect you enough.
How can I
potentially.
program the AI to respect me?
Potentially, yeah. The AI is like the reason it's not offering you a draw because it doesn't think you're a good, smart enough or a worthy opponent to offer you a draw, and it'll waste your time.
I think it's close. I think the newest iteration for chess, the AIs do make moves. That's not optimal because they think, or they make suspect moves because they think the players might make a mistake. The most
That's
recent
interesting.
one, yeah.
Yeah, so it makes bets or makes gambles.
Yeah, it made like a second best move because the best move led to an outright loss. And the second best move was like if the other player did their second best move, then the AI could get a draw.
So like maybe it like knows like if I make this move, we'll get a draw. But if I make this move, there's a potential chance they may blunder and I get a winning.
Yeah, if they just took their second best move, then yeah. I mean, it all just to me it seems like AI is just programmed with a lot of game theory. It's just not really like AI.
Yeah, it just goes down this kind
they're all
of decision
theory,
tree,
right? They're all objective theory.
Yeah, but
okay.
With chess is easy at least because most of it is just pieces on a board, logic, plays, and all that shit.
Black and white.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously, there's a reason why you can program an AI to play chess right now, but you can't have AI fucking C-3POs right now, right? It's a different ball game.
You need to start. You need to start on the basics. So you start with a world that's confined and constrained.
Yeah, exactly.
As you get better at doing that, you just get better.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, if they can teach an AI to accept like bluff draws or accept draws.
Well, I know from you would share that news right away on WhatsApp because it'll be a big fucking deal to you. And you wouldn't be wrong, I guess. Yeah, in circles with lots of like-minded people, it would be a big deal. It would be the next stepping stone for AI.
My echo chambers.
Yeah, but I don't know. Draw is like such a specific idea.
I know, right?
Like in real world, there's just like never a draw in like anything. It's like never equal, right?
It's more like let's just do something else.
Yeah, it's like a concept for people who don't want to put in all the effort to figure out the actual answer. Okay. So they're like, hey, let's call it here. Yeah, and oftentimes it's the people that are going to lose that offers it. Like at Risk, if you got energy and you can go another 8 hours, you're not taking that draw at 4 a.m. and be like, okay, you can quit. I'm gonna win.
Well, you don't know how I play Risk though.
Do you play until the end?
No, my strategy is I pick a friend that I want to take out with the game, and then I just like constantly attack them. Hopefully they retaliate, so that we're both out of the game as soon as we can, and then we just do something else.
Literally,
and then everyone else gets stuck in the game.
So literally not playing the game.
So the best move is to not play.
It's playing the game to get out of the game, but yeah, in a sense, it would be better if I didn't play the game.
That's what the anti-maskers are doing too. They're like, I don't want to play this game, so I'm just gonna live my own life.
Yeah, except this game they're talking about is like reality, so it's like
it is. I mean,
it's like they have the option. They want to think like they have the option of checking out in some way. So fucking, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Don't loop me into these anti-maskers. I don't share the
anti-maskers.
Anti-masker.
Or anti-maskers, yeah.
They're both the same shit. You're not gonna get an anti-masker arguing with an anti-vaxxer anytime soon.
They're like, I wouldn't listen to that.
They're comrades.
The anti-vaxxer is like, "What are you doing? You're spreading the virus."
No.
And then the anti-masker is like, "Yo, I'm taking that vaccine. I don't care about that."
No, those two guys are fucking comrades. They're solidarity till the end. They're usually the same guy. It kind of goes hand in hand. It's like a set piece.
All the crazies. Yeah, I suppose.
It's insane. Like, you know what I like to do sometimes? I sometimes read these accounts and if I have a chance to talk to these people, I talk to these people. And it's just to fucking LARP in that mindset. Just be like, what must it be like to have this as your worldview, and it's fucking insane. It's a wild fucking ride. Just thinking, like, just even trying to be like, hey, what would it be like in their shoes? I can't fucking.
I've tried that too, and I'm just like, how do they get to this point? Like, how?
it's like part just completely just not understanding shit, but also part fucking fear. You know, like most of these, like I always say, like conspiracy theorists, the ones that latch on the hardest to the conspiracy theory, they're the ones that need to believe that there's some kind of structure in the universe the most. Like without it, like I don't know, their mind would be broken. They need to think that there has to be something behind everything. Even the most random ass shit. There's something. There's some either an organization or some predetermined or some plan that went into this chaotic random shit. Because for them it'll be like if there's nothing there, then everything is fucking it breaks down. It's everything 404 instantly.
Yeah, I think it stems from this assumption that people are rational. Like if you believe people are rational, you'll get the conspiracies. But if you just kind of think, okay, people are stupid and they do stupid things, and that's why things happen,
But
then there's like no conspiracy.
But it eats itself. It's inherently self-contradictory because for them to necessarily believe in this stuff, in a sense, yeah, you're right. They have to believe there's some rational actor out there, the omnipotent God rational actor, right, that is behind everything. But at the same time, for them to pull this off,
Okay.
at the same time, they have to
God
think.
actor. That's where you cut off.
Yeah. Oh shit! I keep on cutting off. What's the fucking problem? Yeah, they have to assume that there's some kind of God actor that's rational that pulls the strings behind everything. But that assumption must include everyone else in there would be irrational and shit. There has to be this thing that eats itself, where it's like, oh, there's rationality and it's also at the same time irrational. But it's not like a dialectic that you can synthesize out from it. It's just they can't think themselves out of a wet paper bag. It's just conspiracy. But I'm scared if there is no conspiracy.
Yes. If there's no conspiracy, then everyone's just stupid, including them. And how can they solve it? I guess they just need a scapegoat. Like at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Speaking of that,
Scapegoat?
how about that monolith?
Oh,
the monolith. Oh, okay.
It's a good way to end this podcast.
Do we want to take bets on which corporation is doing this stunt?
Do you think it's a corporation? I think it's just a group of people.
You don't think it's artists? You don't think it's Banksy?
No.
Well, you know what?
He doesn't fly to Asia.
Can't be Banksy alone.
You can
might
make a
have done the
bet.
first one.
You guys can, I guess, take the bet whether it's a corporate act or if it's an artistic act.
I think the initial one may have been an artistic act, but
And then it was copied by the corporate act.
even then, I don't think it's corporate. It's just other copycat people trying to just make it to the front page of Reddit or something.
Artistic mimicry.
I don't even know with the copycats. I don't even know if you could call those artistic. It's just
But they're not doing it for profit.
Yeah, it's not like
No, they're
they're not promoting some kind of like future whatever product or.
Yeah, they're not trying to sell
event
you
or
an
something.
Apple computer with this monolith.
I don't think there's any statement trying to be made or anything like that.
What if they just wanted the YouTube ad revenue and they're just like,
Yeah, that's the thing. They're trying to make it to the front page of Reddit or or on YouTube or something, Instagram, whatever.
Yeah, we're sitting here with like no views. They're sitting there with like 1.5 million. They just put 3 pieces of metal in the ground.
Yeah,
Should
man.
have put like a verbal laxative sticker on it or something.
No, we
Yeah,
chose this so we don't have to go to fucking random places in the middle of buttfuck nowhere to put metal pieces in the ground. We chose this so we can sit here. We can sit here in the comfort of our homes and just talk bullshit every day.
Well, if you drive like an hour outside of where you are and put this up, you can just say it's, in the northern tundra, ice melted, global warming, and we found this. No one would know.
Yeah, an
Yeah,
hour
million
drive
views.
any direction from here, it will not lead me to any wilderness like that.
I'm sure you can find something. There's a lot of pockets over there.
I could put it in like a field or something, but it's just gonna be like a farmer that's gonna find it's gonna be like, what the hell? And you probably just take it down without even reporting it or anything like that.
Like,
That's
damn
my
kids. Yeah, call the
Yeah.
cops. Someone threw junk in my yard.
So what are your thoughts then? You think it's corporate?
I think-
Yeah,
oh,
you
Zen?
start off. You start. I have no. I don't. You start off.
I think it's if it's not I think it's gonna be reported as corporate. I think a company could see this as a stunt and just leverage it. Just be like, hey, there's already millions of people looking at it. Let's just buy the rights to it and we'll just make it our own thing.
So stupid. I
It
fucking
could be like
hate this shit.
promotion for like a movie, like because it kind of reminded me of those like robot slates in Interstellar. You remember those?
Yeah.
Or it's
yes.
or it's in that other movie with the redhead Amy Adams with the septopods.
Oh.
The alien one?
Yeah, the alien
or-
one.
Is that Arrival?
Arrival.
Yes, Arrival.
Yeah.
Arrival. Where they just have these objects.
Yeah.
Arrival 2?
The
It's,
monolith.
Yeah. I think it's definitely pointing to aliens, man. We
It's
have
not
no way
pointing to
describe it.
aliens.
This is stupid shit. I wish that people would just be like, oh yeah, whatever, big fucking deal, and then no one gives a shit about it anymore. There's always stupid stuff like this that goes viral. If no one gave a shit, then the guy would be like, the original guy that put it up, like, oh shit, no one cares about
I
this.
don't think the original guy who put it in Utah actually cared. He didn't want. I don't know if he wanted media on it.
Okay,
It's
great.
probably
Then
been up
then
there
that's
for a
even
long
more.
Random thing.
Then that's even more of a reason for people not to give a shit about, and there'll just be random garbage in the middle of nowhere,
That's the problem. People give a shit about
right?
the most ridiculous things.
It's just a lack of Trump news right now, so people are just bored. They're latching
Oh.
onto whatever story they can get.
Fuck, it's gonna. I was just talking to my wife today, and I was like, yeah, time to get back to that shitty 2008 sort of fucking American exceptionalism deal where the news isn't hilarious anymore, and it's just the same snobby bullshit again. Sometimes I wish the news would stay hilarious.
I thought
Yeah.
it ran kind of dry after a while. It was just repeating upon itself.
It's not gonna be as dry as like 2008 dry. It's a different thing because it's a pompous sort of deal. It's a snobby fucking
Yeah, that grows very tiring for me. It's just like, god damn this again.
Yeah, but what during Trump era it was them fucking pulling their hair out and fucking panicking. That was much more enjoyable than what was the attitude before. We're back to snog now.
I agree.
I think we
agree.
should conclude.
All right, sounds good.
All
think
right,
so.
with that, thanks for listening to this episode of Verbal Laxative. Tune in next time when we discuss more crap.
Maybe we'll find out who put those things in the desert.
I hope not. I hope we just all collectively forget about it.
It was
Honestly,
Trump.
we discussed a lot about AIs, and our last words were the monolith.
Trump wanted more press, so he did it. All right, thanks for listening.
You guys should pick an intro song for us one of these days. We're almost 50 eps in. We just
Oh
Every
yeah, I
day.
totally forgot about that.
pick one that
Suggest
won't get us
some.
sued.
That's impossible. They're always gonna get bought out, and then we'll get sued down the road.
Well, the
dude,
thing
we're
is, we
looking at
can't
the
get
free-
sued if no one listens. So
Yeah.
Ah,
We're not
I don't know
making
if that's
criticism.
true.
that's probably not true. Yeah, as long as they notice you, just gets one guy.
well, if they noticed, they'd have to listen. So
No, they don't need to know this. They use AI.
You know what?
There's
What would-
computers that just scours your videos and finds
Yeah.
inappropriate songs
No, we want-
and it just flags you.
We want the Streisand effect, right? We want them to notice, and in the lawsuit, we get super popular.
Mm.
like they say.
But on that
press is
note,
good press.
next time I would like to discuss intellectual property and how we got to where we are today.
Okay, Mr. Lawyer.
Not lawyer in any way, but even just the idea that we need lawyers for intellectual property.
Yes, fucking parasites. All right, yeah, let's talk about it.
It's what keeps them employed, right?
The jobs program. You can get them doing whatever else. Yeah, we'll talk about IP and all that bullshit and lawyers and stuff.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah,
All right.
I think that's a good
episode.
one. I think that's a good one.
And have no lawyers on the show to defend themselves.
Yeah, we can't have.
Good to me.
All right, sounds good.
Because then we'd have to get a lawyer on our side, you know.
I
That's
don't
a
think a
huge
lawyer would be on
deal.
our side because we would be talking about infringements.
And plus,
We'll find a defense attorney on our side.
what the fuck?
Like Giovanni. Mr. Giovanni. After your...
Giuliani?
Giovanni.
Giovanni?
I don't know. His name.
Pokemon?
For Pokemon? Oh, man.
He wasn't a lawyer in Pokemon.
You guys know what I was saying.
yeah,
Or
you messed up, Giuliani.
Because we're human.
Yeah.
So
See,
cringe.
that's the great thing about computer. If they can like pick up on your inaccuracy and be like, oh, okay, I know what you mean, Brian.
No, we can do that. We can pick up on your inaccuracy now. We're just making fun of you for it.
The AI, if anything, would take your inaccuracy as true. So it would think you're referencing someone else.
Or it would think you're a defect and just terminate you.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right, and with that, let us wrap this up. We will terminate the podcast now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You
That
should
was so
be.
bad. That was so bad. I may consider just cutting it out. Maybe not. I'll keep it all in. I'm going to keep all of this in, even to talk about cutting it out. All right. Thank you, everybody. Good night.